You know she's getting filled by some black stud. You know there's some black fucking bull that's just filling her with cock meat, giving her the real fuck she deserves. Some big black bull just filling her with cock meat.
All right, folks, and we are live. So I can take the starting soon down. Pardon me. Yes, we are live. This is probably, I would imagine, the last show of the year, of the decade. Very special occasion. And I'm going to commemorate it by not really having anything planned. Actually, we're going to watch some Spoonie. And possibly some other cringe folks, maybe a couple of bald, bloviating dipshits I know of. But first things first, Pastor Tom wanted to call in last night, and I just did not see him messaging me, because I'm retarded. So we're gonna call Pastor Tom right now and see what's going on with the old pastor. So let's give him a call. Oh wait, sorry, Boomer Bechtloff. Once again, I forgot. Skype will always change my settings every time I turn it off. I apologize for that. I should know at this point to just every time I turn Skype back on. To change it back. There we go. Hey, Pastor Tom, how's it going?
Good, how you doing?
Good. Looks like we can hear you just fine on the audio here. All right. So yeah, you were trying to call in last night, and I just did not see it.
That's all right. Yeah, no, I mean, I just we talked a little bit afterwards, just weighing in about the porn thing. Like I said, one of the questions that I had gotten asked on this whole lot, in regards to snuff films and child pornography. So that was going to be the kind of the question I thought is if, what did you think about those in regards to expression?
Well, what I told you last night, again, we had a great conversation. It's a shame you didn't get on the air. What I told you last night is the reason I think those are different is those are to merely film those is to commit a crime. The rape of a child or the murder of a person. So the mere production of them is a crime before you even film it, and to pay for it is then to commission a crime. So obviously the production and the the purchasing of those things absolutely should be illegal. When it comes to merely viewing it, I think maybe you're getting into grayer territory when it comes to free speech, but certainly the production and and the purchasing of them are inherently a crime before you even consider a speech aspect to it.
Yeah.
So that would be how I differentiate those two.
So I guess but that would only hold would you say that should the making of pornography be considered a crime? Would you say that in and of itself, just like, okay, so like child pornography, that's a crime to even produce it. What would you say to people who say, well, I think that the production of pornography should also be a crime?
It's a crime to rape a child and it's a crime to murder somebody. Yeah, obviously. I mean, if those two things aren't crimes, you have a lawless wasteland. What is a crime then? But it's not a crime to have sex with somebody. You could argue it's prostitution, which is illegal. But then I'm of the mindset that prostitution shouldn't be illegal in the first place. I think it is a ridiculous, I think it is a ridiculous quote unquote loophole that prostitution is no longer prostitution when I put a camera in the middle of it. That said, though, I don't believe prostitution should be illegal. I don't believe that should be a concern of the government. I mean, pornography is essentially prostitution. Yeah. There's let's be real. You can argue she's an actress or something, but I don't know. It's prostitution. It may be something more than that, but it's prostitution at its core. But I I don't, because you can actually, quote unquote, get around the pornography loophole if you're creating prostitution for a private collection, so it doesn't even have to be distributed, quote unquote, professionally. Which I don't. To me, that seems like, you know, that should almost de facto legalize prostitution. All you got to do is bring. I mean, we all have a camera on our phone, so at this point, it almost seems like that loophole de facto decriminalizes prostitution.
But now, and just the pictures of, just of naked people, not necessarily them, engaging in intercourse, sexual intercourse, but just naked pictures. You don't really consider that pornography, right?
Not really. I personally don't. Part of that is because I have consumed a tremendous amount of porn in my day, and I'm a bit jaded. I would consider that. To me, that's kind of on the same level of, like, if you got a swimsuit girl calendar, just a little bit racier than that. I mean, like, you can jack off to it, but it's not necessarily purely for that. I would say you could just appreciate it. I think that's a bit of a gray area. I don't necessarily consider just a nudie girl shot. Certainly not what I would call hardcore pornography.
No, I
certainly
would call
you
it
can
hardcore.
Certainly you can. I mean, if you're going to call it pornography, in my eyes, you almost got to call the photo shoots in Maxim pornography.
I think there could be actually a case to be. I mean, of course, my definition of pornography is, where the sole or the primary purpose of it, is to elicit a sexual response and a sexual reaction. That's the sole thing or the primary purpose of it. So if the swimsuit catalog, if its only purpose is to elicit a sex, I think it could be considered pornographic in that view. Again, it would be very, I guess, quote unquote light porn, and maybe you could make the stipulation of, well, you'd have to add on to the caveat that, like, nudity is involved. But again, like, not to me, not everything that necessarily has nudity in it is pornographic.
Well, we talked about last night. You used the expression, you could tell porn when you see it, and I think that's largely true, but that's not always true. And I think reasonable people are going to disagree exactly where on the line is. You use the analogy of a puddle versus a pond. Well, yeah. You look at a puddle and it's very clear. You look at a pond, it's very clear. But at a certain point, there has to be a line drawn between where one begins and the other ends. And ask 10 different people, and they're going to probably give you 10 different answers.
They'll give you 10 different answers, maybe, but it's those answers. There's going to be a range within the disagreement of those answers that I think is going to be a little bit limited, as opposed to, say, you've got a cough and a sore throat, and you go to the doctor, and then they give you 5 different answers. I mean, like I said, I think, like, that was one of the biggest things that I was saying with pornography, as opposed to, like, other ideas. I think it is a little bit easier to define it. Again, just because, like, as I was saying, it's something where the sole intention or the primary intention, everything else that's in service to that, is to elicit, a sexual response. That's one of the big things that distinguishes it between art.
Well, like I said, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I just think there's going to be a fuzzy line around the edges of that.
I would agree with that. Of course, I think that's humanity.
And see, this I don't. First of all, I don't trust the government to ban porn because I don't consider there any reasonable argument for it not being speech that I don't think you can apply to a million other things, to anything virtually. All the arguments I've ever heard, the moment I poke at them, they crumble. Somebody last night in the chat was like, "Well, it's not speech because it's not written or spoken." Which, I mean, okay, sign language isn't speech, like that just doesn't apply. I would say there's really, so for a free speech aspect, I wouldn't ban it. Maybe some more regulations on the production end of things. There is a lot of stuff about it that needs to be dealt with, horrendous working conditions, trafficking, that sort of thing. I wouldn't be opposed to something like that, but to say, okay, we're going to ban it. And the other problem is, and you saw this in the E. Michael Jones versus Styx debate. The people that want to ban pornography, they don't want to stop there. None of them want to stop there. You saw Torba when he was going on about pornography and flag burning aren't free speech, which is the most boomer thing I've ever heard in my life. And then, when they pressed E. Michael Jones on, well, do you want to ban R-rated movies or explicit lyrics and music or this, that, or the other thing? He wouldn't answer it. He dodged the question outright. Oh, it's hypothetical. I'm not going to answer it. Because the answer is yes. As I said last night, if you're a Luddite like me, take a look at your shelf full of DVDs or books or video games or whatever you got and realize that, a man like E. Michael Jones wants to come in and throw away 80% of it, And on the Catholic end of things, who knows how far he's going to go? Is he going to throw away my Bible because only my priest should read it to me? So I really don't trust the Catholics on that. But even the Protestants, do you think I trust a man like James Dobson to tell me what is art and what is smut? Do you think I trust a man like James MacDonald who thinks wolves are demons to be reasonable about the line between art and porn? No. And these are the guys that are going to end up. Let me put it this way: if things swung right and these guys got their way, these are the guys that are going to end up in charge of such things. As things are left right now, what are they going to only ban? The only straight porn allowed is going to be pegging because Anita Sarkeesian's in charge of things. Who knows? Point is, I don't want any of these people in charge of what I'm allowed to watch or read or, what have you.
Yeah, I mean that's where we had a lot of agreement as well. Like, having concerns about just what the government will do, and really just talking about the difference between personal responsibility versus having the government. I think, like I said, with some of the people there, it can come across as, well, I want to outlaw porn or I want to ban porn because I don't think that other people can be responsible enough to not look at it. And that's sort of where I was kind of ending it last night, which is that one of the big differences between porn and, say, some other substances that people want to outlaw, you really do have to go looking for pornography. I mean, it's on the internet. It's easy to find. You can find it very easily if you're wanting to. But, as opposed to like maybe the internet when it first got going and stuff, if you don't have to see it if you don't really want to look for it. I mean, maybe with certain TV shows, you could argue something with that. Something like maybe Game of Thrones. I know a lot of Christians seem to think that a lot of Game of Thrones is sort of pornographic sometimes. But for the most part, you've got to look for it in order to find it. So if you're looking at pornography, who's ultimately the person to blame?
Well, that's the other thing. I keep hearing, oh, it's this health epidemic and all this other stuff, and it's like, I'm not interested in eroding free speech because some poor guy can't stop drooling over some whore on Pornhub. Like, I'm sorry you have that problem. And there are plenty of things that will help you out there. There are, there's these services out there that I know Christians run that service that's basically spyware, but it's like a team viewer thing where you can have some accountability buddy or whatever you want to call it gets to look at your browsing history all the time. Like, and if you need to do that, then fine, do that. Okay. But the other thing is, while I'm not going to sit here and claim that porn is good for you or anything like that, I do think the other side vastly overestimates how addictive it is. Because the reality is most people in this country have looked at porn. Most people in this country do not have crippling porn habits where they become the Coomer meme.
I think it depends on what you mean by addictive. I mean, I think it's, I think a good comparison with the porn would be like,
deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's, probably a decent comparison between porn and if you were to put it to some other stuff, I would say would be marijuana. In terms of like, that's kind of, I think, in terms of the comparison, it's not exactly easy to stop smoking marijuana. On the other hand, it doesn't quite break you the way that other drugs do, the way that alcohol can.
And I would argue that it's, that again, E. Michael Jones kept wanting to say it's addictive. It's addictive, as if that's the metric for now we have to ban it. I mean,
sugar is addictive.
Yeah, I can make, from a pure public health standpoint, I can make a much better case for banning corn syrup than I can pornography. I mean, people die of diabetes. I don't know of one single case of a man who died from jacking off too much. It might have happened. There's 7 billion people on this planet. There could be that one guy that managed to do it. But I would argue, if we're going down the Demolition Man road of if it's bad for you, ban it, I think there's a lot of other things that are probably higher on the list.
Like government.
Like perhaps the people that want to ban everything. Can we ban them? But no, I again, that's the other big thing. I wouldn't really shed a tear if porn would be banned. First of all, I don't think that's realistic. I think what would happen is there would be massive restrictions on it. It would all get pushed back behind paywalls, or most of it. You'd have to go almost dark web to find it. That's the most realistic scenario, and I wouldn't shed a tear of that. And to be honest, I don't think the pornographers would either, because they'd probably finally be turning decent profits again. That said, though, it's not going to stop with that. It's not going to stop with that. Again, every one of these guys that goes on about banning porn, push them, and they'll admit to you they're going to want to ban just about anything. You know, R-rated movies, what have you. And we talked about the movie Wild Things last night, which I think is a great movie. If you've never seen it, you should see it, people. But there's a lot of sex in that movie. Sex is an integral core of the plot of this murder mystery story. And there are sex scenes in that movie that, while extremely titillating, and you certainly could crank one out to them, they actually are pivotal plot points and plot twists. You could argue maybe they don't need to show the titties or something. Whatever. You could throw a black bar over it and not really lose anything. Sure, fine, whatever. But the point is, I would call that movie art. That's a movie. That is a legitimate movie. A damn good one. But I don't want to have to be in a position where I have to sit and defend this to some Puritan lunatic. You know, because I'm not going to be able to. You know, there's no way I'm going to reason with a James McDonald about how, no, this is actually a really solid film. You know, I literally, over the Christmas break, I went and had dinner with some very close friends of mine that are practically family. You know, their kids call my dad Uncle Paul kind of situation. And love these people to death. But they had just seen Christmas Vacation because someone recommended it to them and were horrified by it. It was smut in their eyes.
Swimming pool.
Well, the whole movie basically was just dirty smut crap, you know? And frankly, I mean, that movie's great. That movie is hilarious. I would argue it has a very solid pro-family message at its core. That's a Christmas classic. And I don't want to be in a position where I got to defend that because somebody's sensibilities can't handle it. And look, it's fine. If you can't handle it, if it's not for you, it's not for you. That's fine. You don't have to like it. But, I mean, much as I love those people, I don't want them in charge of what everyone can see because their tastes kind of suck. And I don't really want anyone in charge of that, but especially not people like that.
Well, I mean, I like I said, I don't want unreasonable people in charge. For me, as I've said, you know, I can see a big difference between something. I haven't seen Wild Things, so I don't know about that. But you know, taking another movie like the movie I talked about last night was Titanic, right, where he draws her naked. You know, I mean, could you do something with that? Yeah, you could do. You know, that could elicit. You know, you could masturbate to that if you wanted to, but that's not really the purpose of that scene. It's clear that's not really the purpose of it. Now, is it sexual in some sense? Is that there? Yes, but that's not its sole reason. It's not just in there just to do that. There's other purposes behind that, and so, you know, part of her being nude in that instance is, you know, the vulnerability. So that's what it's trying to express along with that. That's why I would say that, you know, even if you could say it's a bit gratuitous in the fact that they do show aspects of her body, you know, the overall scene has a greater purpose than just to be, you know, the baseline sexual pleasure. So that's why I would, you know, it's not art in the sense of it's not high art, but he could, you know, in terms of regular entertainment, yeah.
Real quick, Cynic in Chief sent $5 super chat. Why let your kids watch porn when you can ban porn and let your kids experience sex firsthand in prison?
There you go.
I don't think that's the sex you want them to experience, though.
I, you know, like I said, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just more optimistic. I think people can recognize that, but yeah, I mean, I think it's at the end of the day, I'd much rather want to make those decisions for myself and for my family than to have a third government party coming in and saying, no, I can't make these decisions.
And again, because as soon as you ban, it's not just ban porn, it's ban obscenity. It's ban, you know, that sort of stuff. And to me, that's no different than hate speech. You know. Oh well,
It
it's
can definitely.
harmful. Well, yeah, I'm sure hate speech is also harmful. You know, like I was opposed to what's his face, the Daily Stormer guy getting banned. I don't like the Daily Stormer at all. There's been a couple of articles over the years and years I've been aware of them that I've liked, but by and large, I think England's kind of a shitbag. Um, like I, England makes my skin crawl. And he's never been anything nice to me in my brief interactions with him. But it's a virile thing. It's a vitriol thing. It's a spider sense thing. I don't like the guy. That said, though, it's called free speech. You communist faggot. Um,
Well, I mean, to think about how bad it can be, what was one of the big deals with the movie Psycho, right?
mm-hmm. The
What was one
shower
of the
scene.
biggest things?
The shower
Yeah,
scene,
but
right?
but you know why? It wasn't necessary. It didn't, it wasn't just the fact of the girl. It
What?
was the toilet.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's a
Showing
key
the
example.
toilet was a big deal.
I was just binge watching some old cinema snob last night, and he covered a movie called Driller Killer that had fallen into public domain. It had been
That just
outright
sounds like a great movie.
it had been outright banned in the UK, and based on a poster. No one had even seen it, and when you actually see the movie, it's pretty tame by a lot of slasher standards. It's nothing to get upset about. Um, but people had just banned it based on a movie poster. Now it's not a particularly good movie, and you could argue, okay, well, we didn't lose anything or something, but I mean, that's the unreasonable level there. They didn't see it, you know. And you talk about the unreasonable level. I remember hearing Michael Savage going on about rap music and shit like that, and talking about how the government should regulate it more. And yet, if you listen to Michael Savage's show, he loves like any Italian boomer all those mafia movies. So, what is the difference, really, between a movie, that essentially is glorifying, organized crime, and black music that is essentially doing the same thing on just a bit less polite a level?
One wears suits.
Well, one is something that appeals to Michael Savage's sensibilities, and the other does not,
Yeah.
and he confuses that for objective morality, as
Well, and
many people do, as most people are going to do at some point. Almost
well,
all
I
of
mean
us will do that sometimes.
right, and that's where when you have these sort of standards, that's when you become a Pharisee, so to speak. When you start doing these things that are not, explicitly mentioned in Scripture, and like you said, you're determining it based off of your own sensibilities. Well, no good Christian could watch, whatever a mafia movie, or no good Christian could listen to rap music. But then, well, by that same standard, now you're watching something that could easily be just as seen that same way. And I mean, this is why with a lot of this stuff, like I said, I lean more on the side of, James McDonald. I lean more on the side of legalism. I lean more on the side of grace with this, honestly. I say trust your conscience. If you feel like you shouldn't watch something, then don't watch it. I mean, here's an example, and people can think whatever they want here. Based off of what I heard, I personally don't want to watch the movie Deadpool. Have I heard it's a funny movie? Yeah, but I've heard there's stuff in there that I just don't really want to see. I don't want to see a dude getting pegged. So I'm not gonna watch it for that reason. I mean, there's other reasons, but that was just an example. I just have no desire to watch a dude get pegged. Um, so okay, now am I going around telling people you shouldn't watch Deadpool? It's a bad movie. It's a horrible movie. No, I'm saying, you know what? I got certain reasons why I'm not gonna watch that. Obviously, there's a difference. Again, I would say when it comes to the Christian context with pornography, I don't think that any Christian should ever look at pornography because of lust and it creating lust. But in regards to certain movies, but like I said, to me, I think it's very clear to tell a difference between an R-rated movie, something that is meant to be entertaining, that is pushing the envelope, versus something that's just straight up porn. I see a difference, and I think it comes down to the intention of the author. If is it or the creator. If it's the creator's intention to predominantly or solely all they really want to do, all they really care about is making sure that somebody gets a sexual reaction, it's pornography. If there are other motives involved, if they have another purpose in doing that, then it doesn't have to be. And I think it's clear to see that in the work. I think people can be clear enough in their work. Most of the time, 99% of the time, can they be clear enough to where you can distinguish it if you are a reasonable person.
Oh, I don't doubt that. But like I said, I don't, I've spent a lot of time on here railing against the pornography industry, no pun intended. Um, and so I don't want to be in this position where I'm defending them, but free speech is free speech. And again, what's extremely worrying is I know you can't even call it a slippery slope fallacy, because the moment you really question any of them on it, that's what they want. All the people behind this, they do not for a moment intend to stop with pornography. They intend to immediately, when that is done, if they ever got it done, the next step would be going after legitimate forms of art and entertainment that they find objectionable for whatever reason. That is the immediate next step. I don't feel like giving them an inch, because I know they intend to take a mile. So I'd rather live in a world where porn is legal then.
I mean, it's this constant thing, and it's this constant fear that people have to battle against, that if this thing is out there and it's bad and people can get access to it, then that means that they are going to get access to it. So we have to limit their access. We have to control them. We have to control what they see, and so we have to control that. And as you say, the reason why it never stops at something like pornography is because that's, we have to limit pornography because it's bad for people, and so they're going to, if we allow them to do it, then they can go do that. But then it's so easy. Well, but what about all these other, seeing the obscenity is bad for people. Getting a hold of a false doctrine, a false teaching, that's bad for people. So we can't allow people do that. We've got to ban that, and that's where it goes. It's just, that's why and you can do this from a left perspective, from an SJ perspective, you can't have any mention of, a slave owner, because that's bad to defend somebody. So we've got to get rid of that. You can't even talk to somebody who has a different opinion, because, if you get that view out there, somebody could listen to them, they're going to take it. And it all stems from that same fear that, if somebody sees if a group of people see a view or see something that you don't like, they're instantly going to accept that view, or some of them might, and it's just, you don't have control over the situation. So it just comes down to basically wanting control.
Real quick, Syndicate Chief sent a $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Said we need an AA for porn, not a DEA for porn. And that's the point. There is a lot of organizations that will help you with pornography addiction, and a lot of these trads that are spurging on about banned porn, they'll tell you the sob story of their porn addiction that had gotten so out of hand it nearly derailed their life. And that's sad, and I feel bad for them. But that's your fault. That's not my fault. That's not society's fault. That's not even really the pornographer's fault. That's you. You did that. And odds are, if it hadn't have been the porn, you'd have done it with something else. You'd have ruined your life with video games, or watched too much anime, or you'd have eaten too much sugar and gotten fat and diabetes, whatever. That was a flaw deep in you that caused you to go so overboard with it. And again, I feel bad for you. I hope you get help, but I don't feel like throwing my freedom of speech out the window because you can't stop cooming. That's not, to sound heartless, that's not my problem.
Well, I mean, again, and just because something is legal doesn't mean that it has to be accepted by society. That was the other thing that we talked about last night. I think, like I said, from a legal standpoint, okay, the production of pornography, maybe, again, heavily regulated, the viewing of pornography legal, but the way that it gets looked at in society, I think society should look at it very harshly. I mean, again, like you were saying, I really do think that the Coomer meme did more to really help pull men out of their addictions when it comes to pornography than any type of regulation would do.
Absolutely. I like the Coomer meme. I don't,
I
don't like a lot of the people sharing it here lately, but I actually like that meme a lot.
Because it shames you. It makes you feel bad for doing it, and you should feel bad for doing it.
Yeah, there's nothing that shames you quite as much about a vice as seeing the really, really degenerate guy who just went completely down that road. The Ghost of Christmas Future on it. Nothing will make you want to put down the fork more than looking at a 400-pound man. And nothing will make you want to not log on to Pornhub more than looking at a Coomer. And there's that one guy, an actual guy on Twitter, who looks, his eyes are all sunken in. He looks all gaunt, he looks just creepy and disturbing. And he like is on Twitter and taking pictures of himself with these girls at these events. Like, oh, I met my favorite porn star and stuff like that. I can't imagine being that guy. Like what a nightmare. So yeah, that kind of thing works. That works really well. And on this show, I did a lot of segments where it's like, let's pull the curtain back on the porn industry and look at how disgusting and degenerate it is. Because at first glance, I mean, a well-made pornography at least is glamorous looking. It's two beautiful people having often acrobatic sex. It's obviously alluring, it's obviously glamorous, but you got to realize that just out of camera or the moment the camera was turned off or just before it or whatever, everything was disgusting.
Well, and presenting just the real aspect of it. I mean, this is, but it's about fantasy. That's what it is. It's the fantasy, and it's giving into that fantasy. And on the one hand, I mean, is it necessarily quote unquote bad to always fantasize? No, but right now there is a big problem with a lot of people and a lot of men just sort of living in fantasy worlds. That's why, I mean, I get where the people who are coming from, and me, I like video games, but when the people say, guys, you need to put down the video games and start living your life, there's a certain amount of truth in that, because too many men are just living in, they're devoting so much time to a fantasy world. And that's the same thing with pornography. It's just a fantasy. It's not real life. It's not real intimacy. You don't have to, when you log on, you look at a virtual woman, you don't have to deal with any of her problems. You don't have to know who she is as a person. You don't have to know her dreams or her wants or anything like that. And I mean, I hate to sound like a feminist, but she is an object to you. She is there just for your pleasure. But that's not real life. That's not really satisfying. That's because you didn't have to earn anything. It didn't cost anything. There's no realness to it. And if we really wanted to get further, we'd have to really show the virtue of having something that's real. There's a big, and I mean, we kind of already know that, but really emphasizing that in our society. There's a big difference between being level, whatever on a video game versus someone who actually knows how to do things, someone who can actually fix things, someone who is actually strong, someone who's actually fit. That stuff, that really is important, and it does matter. And again, I'm not bashing video games. I enjoy playing video games. I think it sometimes is a good way for me to sort of just kind of relax for the rest of the day. But at the same time, there's a limit there, and it's like, how much are you spending in the real world versus how much are you spending in a fantasy world?
Yeah, and like I said, anything can be addictive. And the types of people that get sucked into an actual porn addiction are generally the same types of people that would have gotten sucked into a video game addiction or what have you, because there's just some sort of issue with them, whether it's external circumstances or internal problems, whatever. But yeah, I don't feel like stabbing free speech in the heart, because these people have these problems. Like, I want them to get help, and there's plenty of ways for them to get help, but I'm not going to give daddy government the power to knock your peener out of your hand because you can't stop touching it. I mean, I'm fat, and I'm not out here like, the soda company has wronged me, and we need to ban all this stuff. I need daddy government to knock the soda out of my hand. No, I need to muster up the self-discipline to knock it off myself. And it's not anyone else's problem but mine.
Now, at the same time, I don't think, the government should be paying for the health care for a lot of these things either.
Well,
they should have to.
But and yeah, I think there should be some sort of. But the other big, again, it's not about the porn. It's about the fact that these types of people, they want to go after anything. There's a certain bloviating Catholic I once knew, who I remember on Twitter was fantasizing about, something in a D&D game of going after the Protestants, screaming, "Error has no right." Error has no rights. Well, that's arguably a Catholic doctrine, but there's plenty of Protestants that feel that same way. Ultimately, you don't have a right to it because it's wrong. Which there's no limit to where they'll go with that. And that's what the left does. I mean, the left is doing the same thing because they're in power. That doesn't mean I want to give power to a different group of moralizing idiots to launch their own crusades.
Well, I mean, I think where you and me and a lot of people who agree with us, where we're ultimately in agreement with a lot of this is that we would rather have the power than somebody else deciding for us. I mean, when it comes to my family, I'm going to decide what, to the best of my ability. I know I can't prevent everything, but to the best of my ability, I'm going to decide what comes in and what goes, into this house in regards to outside influences. Like I said, I can't prevent everything, but I'm going to do my very best. But I want to have the ability to make that decision for my family and for myself. And of course, I want to raise my children to have that same mindset. I don't want necessarily somebody else making those decisions for me because they may not make the right decisions. As you were saying, they may decide, you know what, you can't have that Bible, you can't have that doctrine, you can't have, that belief about, whatever guns, or you can't have that belief about, sexuality or anything like that, And so it's like, well, no, I want to be allowed to make those decisions. I want the freedom to make those decisions, and yes, I want the responsibility that comes along with those decisions.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So. And I mean, people can point out, well, okay, what are all the negative things? Yes, this has a cost. Okay, freedom does have a cost, and the cost of it is that people will abuse the freedom. But you know what? Control also has a cost, and so at the end of the day, you just got to ask yourself, which cost are you willing to pay?
And you know
So,
what? The simple fact is the establishment is largely leftist. So when you're pushing for this porn ban, you are pushing to give the people that would line you up against the wall more power just because you want them to slap the porn out of your hand. Like I said for literal decades, that the way you are going to get useful idiots on the right to go along with cracking down on internet freedom is you're going to dangle a porn ban in front of their face. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Richard Spencer, that all the trad Catholic guys like E. Michael Jones, and conservative establishment, conservative Inc. guys like Matt Walsh all hopped on this issue at the exact same time. That gets the old Alex Jones sense tingling. I don't think that's organic. That doesn't look organic to me.
I don't know. Sometimes these things can go up like that. Maybe it's not. I mean, I don't know. If anything, I would just say that if it was something not organic, it would be a way for the left to try to say, well, see, look, the right's just as bad.
Well, that's the other thing. All these right-wingers that want to go on about spent the last several years railing against online censorship. And now they're pushing for the biggest piece of online censorship the internet has literally seen since its inception. Everybody was defending Gab when Gab banned porn because Gab's a private site and they can do that. Well, okay, fine, but weren't these same people complaining just literal months, if not weeks earlier, about people getting banned from Twitter, about people getting thrown off YouTube, about people getting banned off Facebook, etc., etc.? It really exposed an outright hypocrisy of a lot of these people.
All right, and some of these same people who understood, basically, like I said, what I just said which is, whenever it comes, I mean, in a lot of things, it comes down to counting the cost. So what's the cost of giving the government this kind of control when you give up your freedoms in this way? I mean, again, this whole thing, you could look at the same thing in regards to security. If we gave up a lot of our freedoms, could we be, quote unquote, more secure from other forces? Yes. But at the same time, then we're giving a lot of power to the government to better, can really control us, to be a tyrannical government. And so
And
that's where
even
you
if
have to ask the cost. I mean, it's the same thing when it comes down to every time there is a shooting. Well, if we just gave up all of our guns, then there wouldn't be as many mass shootings. Well, possibly, probably, yes, maybe. But at the same time, does that give a lot more authority to government? Yes, it does. Does it give a lot more power to them? Yes, it does.
Yeah, I don't want to live in a safe but sterilized hellscape like that. I don't want to live in Demolition Man. I don't want to live in The Giver. That is worse than death.
The cost of that, though, the cost of living in a free society is, yes, you have to be responsible. You have to be the one to decide that. Again, so, okay, I'm going to have a gun. I have to know how to use the gun. I have to clean the gun. I have to make sure that I can aim it. I have to know what to do in those situations. Or I have to be armed in some other way, being armed with, first aid knowledge or a first aid kit, or being armed with CP, whatever. I mean, but, and that's the, and so it's just a matter of which cost do you want to pay. Do you want to be more self-responsible, but you have more freedom to act within that responsibility, or do you want to be less responsible, but you have less freedom? I mean, to me, almost so many of these questions comes down to just asking that question. Do I want more freedom, but less, more freedom, but more responsibility, or do I want less responsibility, but yet less freedom?
Which
And I think the reason why we have so many people is because they're essentially, infants. They haven't actually grown up. I'm sorry, but to me, it's more fun to be free. I have a lot more fun being married and having a car and having a job and having the freedom to go what I want to do and live where I want to do and build my life than when I was a kid and my parents made all those decisions for me. I didn't have nearly the level of responsibility then, but I didn't have the freedom either. I think a lot of people would much rather be a kid. And they'd much rather have their parents making these decisions for them and not have to worry about it.
Well, again, they want to look to daddy government. Daddy government's going to save them, from whatever it is that they can't control. And that's what it is. I mean, all these people that are like, oh, if you don't want to ban porn, you're a coomer. Well, no, I'm kind of the mindset at this point that if you do want to ban porn, you're probably a coomer. You probably can't control it. Again, like you said, nobody's making you go to Pornhub or wherever else you get your porn, Like, nobody's making you do that. And speaking of free men, so you wanted to talk about a little bit about the church shooting.
Well, yes, I mean, and talk about my spider sense tingling. It's very interesting how there was a certain attack on, that didn't really fit the narrative about, a certain synagogue getting attacked. That was really, and then all of a sudden, here's this other shooting, that hits a lot closer to home and, really pulled attention away from that attack. But anyway, I don't know, that gets my spider sense tingling. But essentially, so there was a shooting in Texas, and 6 seconds is how the whole thing. The guy came in, started shooting, and then within 6 seconds, he was shot dead by one of the church members who was a volunteer security at that church.
Yeah.
And what's amazing here,
it was impressive, actually.
It was very impressive. I mean, of course, this guy was, I believe, a gun instructor as well. So I mean, clearly he was someone who was very well trained with firearms. He's had, a lot of hours on the range, a lot of hours shooting, that kind of stuff. But the thing that really has struck me is on Twitter, rather than, I'm not seeing so much of debate about, guns or this kind of thing. I've been seeing several Christians basically saying what he did was wrong. That would have been better for them to just allow themselves to get shot and killed than for him to have pulled out his gun and to shot that guy. And it just absolutely just blows my mind.
There's a word for that. Gay, I believe, is the word for that. No, seriously, I think I'll put any of those quotes up against a quote of by some guy you might have heard of who said, "If you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one." Well, let me update that for a minute here. If you don't have a gun, sell your Xbox and buy one.
Well,
sell your Nintendo Switch, to hit it close to my home. If you don't have a gun, sell your Nintendo Switch and buy one.
Right. And of course, again, you can, the reason when he said that, he was sending the disciples out into the world to, to evangelize, basically, to preach the kingdom. Now, this is the second time that he had sent them out. The first time he sent them out, he didn't have, he went in with nothing. He said, you need to be completely dependent on God. Don't go with anything. You know, the second time, so they do that, then they come back. The second time he's sending out, that's when he's saying, grab your money purse, this kind of stuff. Like again, take that. I mean, that's literally what how it translates. Grab your money bag, take that kind of stuff. Again, if you have a sword, take it. If you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and have a sword. Why? Basically the things that you would need to take with you when going on trip. Why would you need a sword? Because you could get robbed, and so you need to have a way to defend yourself. But this is also true in the Old Testament. In Exodus 22, it says that if a thief breaks into your house and he suffers a fatal blow, the one who killed him is not guilty. There's a demonstration there of self-defense. It's okay for the Christian to defend themselves, but it's amazing that we've reached this point where and I get where they're coming from. I get the idea, right? Well, Jesus didn't defend himself, right? He went to the cross. He died for our sins. So ergo, Christians shouldn't defend themselves.
There are times and places where guided by the Holy Spirit, God will tell you to lay down your rights for His purposes. But He's the one that gets to tell you that, because He's the one that gave them to you. All right, and that's not just the default position. Yes, there are going to be times where martyrs go into some place and they just graciously accept their martyrdom, sort of things. But again, that's not just the default position of life. And, most people who are autistic can read the scriptures and tell that. Or most people who don't have some sort of political axe to grind can read the Gospels and easily see that.
Well, I mean, it comes back to this idea as well. I've been on here and I've talked about it before, to where I think some Christians really have a romanticized view of martyrs. And it's almost in the same way that people can have a romanticized view of being a veteran. And don't misunderstand me here. We should honor the veterans. Those who go out, those who fight, they need to be honored, obviously, because they are giving their time. They're putting their lives at risk. Many of them do end up losing, life, or do end up losing some form of limb. So absolutely, they should be honored. And to be a veteran is noble. To be a martyr is noble. But there doesn't need to be this romanticization about it happens. Many of the Christians who were martyrs, I'm pretty sure if you asked them, on the one hand, there's a part of them that say, yeah, I'd rather not do this. I'm willing to do this for the Lord. I'm glad to glorify God in this. And so, but if it was just all things being equal, no, I don't want to do
Christ Himself said that. I mean, Christ Himself said, Father, if there's any other way, could we do that instead? Let this cup pass from me, but, not your will, but mine.
Exactly.
Yeah, He didn't want to do that. He wasn't like, oh boy, guess what I get to do tomorrow?
Right. I mean, again, do we, yeah, and exactly. I mean, has Christ, is His name? Yes, His name is, lifted above the name that, above all names. At the name of Jesus Christ, every knee on heaven and earth and under there shall bow to the glory of God the Father. So absolutely. And again, we remember the martyrs. We remember Stephen. We remember Polycarp. We remember Hughes. We remember all of those who have died for the faith. And absolutely, if you're called to be a martyr, that is a high calling. That's not a low calling. At the same time, you don't strive, so to speak, to be in that position if you can avoid. I mean, like I said, Luther was a brave guy, but when he was given an out, he took the out.
Yep.
And that's the thing. And, again, yes, you should be willing to die. That doesn't mean that, you should be seeking to die. And it's just, it's amazing to me, though, to where, again, oh, well, you can't even defend yourself. And a lot of times when these people are being killed, they're not being killed. They're being killed by authority figures. That's who they're submitting to. And yes, we are called to submit to the authority, to the governing authorities. There's a difference between submitting to the governing authorities and allowing someone who's breaking the law to just break the law without even bothering to defend yourself, or to defend those around you. And that's the other thing. This guy in this church, he wasn't just defending himself. He was defending the other people of that church. But I guess it would have been better for, to just, let them die? And again, taking a life is a big deal. We shouldn't look at that lightly either, right? I mean, that we can romanticize that, man, I'd just shoot somebody. Yeah, no, I mean, you need to recognize that when you kill somebody, that's a big deal. That's a very serious thing. And and again, where's this guy in Texas? He's a hero. He does have to live with the fact for the rest of his life that he's killed somebody. He's ended their life.
He said in an interview that I caught part of, where he's like, I'm sorry this man was driven to do this, and I'm sorry I had to end his life. That's not a man who enjoyed what he did there.
But at the same time, yes, all right, this was somebody who was, not the person who shot him, but the gunman. This was someone who was intending to do evil, was intending to kill people, was breaking the law. And so this man was well within his right to end this person's life, and I think was well within the moral obligation to do that. Again, I think it's more moral for the Christian to try to stop that person. Like when you've got these situations, when you've got gunmen here, to me, the more Christian thing to do is to try to stop that person. And then that's when you're willing to lay down your life. Is you say, I'm willing to lay down my life to stop this person so these other people don't get killed. And chances are, unless you have a gun, you are going to lay down your life in order to stop them. Just like the people, I mean, that's laying down your life. The people who on the airplane, what was it, Flight 93, who were able to take control of it away from the terrorists, that way it crashed. That's laying down your life. But that's also trying to defend other people. And I guarantee you that, if they could have regained control of the plane without it crashing, they probably would have much rather have done that.
Yeah.
It baffles me how people who can be Christian, who can be like, Christ has given me life, and life matters, and life is important, and life is valuable, and don't value your life at all. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that you value your life above other people. But this idea that I'm just not going to value it. It's amazing.
Well, the state of what we call leadership in the church is not very good. At the local level, I don't think there's really much of a problem. But what represents Christianity on the national stage is often just outright repugnant.
I mean, it can be. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I don't know. There's a whole other thing today. One of the president's seminaries, he was just sending out very mixed signals. Like on the one hand, he said this one guy's a heretic, and then at the same, like I don't know, a couple hours later, like the next day, he's like, well, while his writings give me pause, if I were to meet him in heaven, sure, I'd rejoice, I'd celebrate. It's like, wait, didn't you just call this guy a heretic? What are you talking about? So. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, but yeah, I did want to mention that just because I think it's ridiculous. It's one of those things that has the veneer of Christianity without, I think, really having the substance. Oh, you're self-sacrificing. Christians we're being self-sacrificing. It sounds like Jesus to just want to give up your life, even but
I remember on my blog I reviewed a movie called The Host, which is by the same chick that wrote the Twilight movies, or the books, I guess. The book is by her. I just saw the movie. But there's this weird fascination with like martyr characters in it, but she didn't really like. At some point, a character basically just wants to die in a way that benefits no one, right? And the movie portrays this almost as if it's some sort of martyr act, where it's like, no, that's just called suicide. Like, like this fascination with martyrdom almost for its own sake. I believe that author Stephanie Meyer is a Mormon, so that's a whole different can of worms. But yeah, there's a lot of that in Christianity. This idea of, I don't know, like there's
it's
also
basically
like
a form of Christian virtue signaling.
It's almost like the opposite, and even broader than martyrdom. There's almost like this opposite of the prosperity gospel, where if you're poor, you're more righteous, that sort of thing. Where you just you almost fetishize the fact that your life is in the toilet.
Right. And, yeah. I mean, well, that's
the prosperity
I saw a lot
gospel.
Of this in the 2016 election.
Yeah, this idea that God's just going to give you, God's your genie is a heresy. But at the same time, this idea that, you know, the more life seems to be beating me up, the more God must love me. Well, that's not necessarily the case either. Um, you know, uh, and there's definitely, and I understand why. Again, there's such this ridiculous amount of prosperity gospel, you see on TV and all, that people want to course correct from that, and they go in the exact opposite direction. I mean, I talked to people in the church before who felt, who were kind of aware of that and struggling with the fact that they felt guilty basically anytime they bought themselves something. You know what I mean? Anytime they spent money on some frivolity or something, they were like, oh, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. You're taking care of your family, you're earning this money. It's nice to have nice things. There's nothing inherently wrong with that.
I mean, I saw a very similar attitude in the 2016 election. It was like, oh, well, I can't vote for Donald Trump. I can't do this, any kind of stuff. It's like, okay, well, if Hillary wins, I mean, it's just the idea here. It's probably not going to be very good for the church. Oh, but God just does great things during the persecution. Church grows during the persecution. It's just, and it's like, yes, that's true. Okay, yes, the church does grow during persecution. All right. And if you are living out your faith, yes, you're going to experience some form of persecution. It may not be as harsh, but you're going to experience some form of persecution. If you don't ever experience any persecution, then yeah, you're probably not really within the faith. But there's a clear difference between that and, like you're saying, this seeking out. This is like wanting, I feel bad. I hate the fact that I'm in a country that tolerates my faith, that allows me, it's like they really have bought the lie about privilege. On that level, they sort of feel like, yes, I'm privileged and I feel guilty that I'm privileged. So here, let me try to give this up so that way I don't feel this way anymore. And same thing with the people who have money, who have resources. Oh, it's just, gosh, I feel so bad that I have all these resources. Well, everything you've had, you've been given by God, unless I mean, unless you've gotten it through dishonest means. What you have, you've been given by God. Clearly, He wants you to have it for a reason. So rather than throwing a fit about it, why don't you use it to glorify God? I mean, obviously, there's ways that what I'm saying can be abused by people. Don't misunderstand me. People can try to, take that and justify anything. But, for example, Lazarus, right,
Mm-hmm.
from the Bible, he was probably a wealthy man. There was a lot of people at his funeral. There's a lot of reason to believe that he had a lot of resources. But, he's never condemned. He was best friends with the Lord. He wasn't just this. I mean, the only evidence that we have of him maybe being destitute is the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, but that's not the same Lazarus, right? I mean, clearly, because that Lazarus dies and doesn't come back to life.
Yeah,
I mean,
names get reused in there for the same reason. I know more than one Tom.
Right, I know you're right. I mean, there's a bunch of different Marys in the Bible, but the Lazarus that did die and Jesus brought back to life, the Lazarus who was, the brother of Martha and Mary, again, there's a lot of historical reason to believe that he was a wealthy person. But you don't see him being condemned. You don't see him, mocked by Jesus or anything. Again, they're best friends. He uses his home, to house Jesus because their home was kind of like his, Jesus's headquarters almost, in a lot of. He uses his resources. Same thing for Joseph of Arimathea. He has the tomb and he lays Christ within the tomb. That's what he was able to purchase with that.
When I was going over James McDonald, what he was making from the church he was a pastor at, I said that was just one revenue stream, and then I mentioned his radio show, and I said I don't begrudge a pastor making even lots of money from something like that. Your sermons are your intellectual property. If you want to leverage them into a different ministry, and that ministry has no costs other than just being on radio, if it makes you money, it makes you money. I don't necessarily think there's something wrong with that. That's a lot different than the church, which has much more responsibilities than just putting on a sermon.
And there is a big difference between making lots of money and living an extravagant lifestyle. You can have lots of money and still live a very humble lifestyle, and particularly for the amount of money that you make. And I know people who do it. There's a guy in Spartanburg who, he was the third wealthiest person in the entire state, and he was the wealthiest person in that city. But he lived just basically, in middle class neighborhood. He owns, I think he owned the Milliken plant or something. But anyway, again, just lived in a middle class house. Didn't have a real expensive car. I mean, he had money for these things. He paid for his kids' college and that kind of stuff. Like I said, very wealthy. So there's a difference between making a lot of money and having things versus having this extravagant lifestyle. I mean, like James McDonald. I mean, he had this what, like $1.7 million house.
Oh yeah, he would take safari trips on the church's dime, because I don't
Right.
know, he went up to some random guy in Africa and said, "Have you heard of Jesus?" And it counts as a missionary trip. You know, um, and a lot of times the difference between someone like that and someone who's just enjoying their money is, people who live that extravagant lifestyle. It's for ego. It's for showing off. It's not. I don't believe James McDonald has that giant house because he genuinely wanted it. I think he wanted to be the guy that has that giant house.
Yeah, and I mean, again, everything that we should do, yes, should be to the glory of God. But again, sometimes God's glorified in enjoying life. If you have something, you enjoyed it, it can bring you that. Then yes, there's nothing wrong with doing that, with having certain things. It's that balance between doing that versus making them idols.
I remember
Now,
a preacher once said, it was, when Jesus went to the wedding or whatever, he goes, and do you know why I believe Jesus went to the wedding? Because he wanted to. And it simple as that. You know. There was a miracle performed there, but you don't know exactly how much, you know, how much ahead Jesus knew at any given moment, how much of, access to his divine abilities, as it were. So it could have just been as simple as, yeah, that sounds fun, because there's nothing wrong with that.
absolutely. And right. So anyway, yeah. I mean, again, it's really is one of these things to where, kind of just going back with a similar theme here, because something can be abused, that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be completely all the way avoided. That's the and you have to figure that out for yourself. There are some of these things that you just have to end with following your conscience. If you're like, I know that I couldn't kind of money if I had it, then fine. Don't do that. I mean, there are certain things that myself I don't do, because I know that like I said, I would not do well in those situations. Um, I don't think that I could handle those things. But I don't necessarily enforce that on other people. You know, and it's okay. Not everybody has to do the same thing. Um, you know, and I've also noticed that typically the Lord has a way of putting people in the positions that they can handle. If He does allow them to sort of get that, sometimes He's allowing them in a position to show them that no, this is why you're not here. Um, but anyway, that's pretty much all that I had to say. I mean,
All right. Well,
but
I'm
the
glad you
biggest
caught
thing
it.
was just that it was just amazing seeing, again, like I said, this just attitude, just how can you have such little value for your life? I mean, Jesus died for you, but you've got no value for you. You find no value in your life. I don't understand how you could say that. And no, what I'm not saying there is that you're valuable, thus Jesus died for you. I'm saying Jesus died for you, valuable. You know, so
Well, thanks for calling in, Pastor Tom. I think I'm going to let you
yeah.
go, and then we're probably going to laugh at Spoonie.
All right.
Speaking of
Well,
men that need Jesus, we're going to laugh at Spoonie. So, um,
thank you for having me on. I
uh,
hope that you
no
laugh at
problem.
him in a way that uh, is ultimately uplifting, though, and not just mocking.
Well, I will try,
Um,
but I make
and
no
keep him in your
promises.
prayers. He definitely does need
Trust
prayers,
me,
as so
yes,
many do.
Spoonie needs prayers.
So,
I'm not kidding with that. Um,
but I hope that you have a good rest of the decade and a good rest of your year.
all right, talk to you later, Tom. Alrighty. So we are going to watch some Spoonie. Real quick, though, we have a super chat. Dashing Rogue sends $5. He says, God paid. I think he says got paid. Got paid today. Bless you, Bechtloff. But the problem with Christianity and MAGA is martyrdom and guilt of success, almost a sort of survivor's guilt. Yeah, I'll agree with that. All right, so let's watch us some Spoonie, shall we? Let's see. So Spoonie did a stream the other night. We might watch all pardon me, we might watch all of it, but there's one spot real quick I want to skip right to. By the way, Spoonie is a mess. Spoonie is... I want to show you where Spoonie is right now as a human being. Let me show you. Spoonie... the word mess doesn't even begin to describe it. Spoonie's probably going to lose his house very soon. His girlfriend left him. His girlfriend was the one paying all the bills because he was down to making basically $300 a month on Patreon, which was almost all of his income, I have to imagine. 90% of it at least. A conservative estimate. His Patreon, because there's no way he got any ad money anymore. There's no way, maybe random donations on PayPal or some shit like that. But he never streamed to get any super chats, anything along the lines. I want to show you Spoonie real quick before we watch this. Let's go ahead and go into Windows Capture. That's Spoonie right now. That's where Spoonie is. I just drink it in. And by the way, Spoonie's the Jeb Bush of internet reviewers in that you want to feel bad for him, but he's such a reprehensible shitbag. So that's Spoonie right now. Again, just drink it in. Drink it in. So let's watch. Let's watch his stream. Now he's playing some shitty computer game. I don't know if it's a PC game or not. I want to say it is because he's one of those PC mustard race, but I've never heard of Livewire The Witness. But that's the game he's playing here. It looks like early 2000 PC game, but whatever. Here's a moment I really want to show y'all. And again, look at the money he's getting in Super Chats when he actually goes live. There's an element where sometimes you see, in an almost unlikely way, justice hit a person because of something in that person. James McDonald. I go back to James McDonald for a second. I was almost a little black-pilled for a little bit there because I thought to myself, James McDonald's just going to get away with it, isn't he? Like, yeah, he got chased out of his church, but he was still worth, from what I understand, about $1.77 million. He was going to walk away, shamed, but with a fortune, set for life. But then I noticed him suing Mancow. And I realized, because again, Illinois has some anti-SLAPP lawsuits. Who knows? Maybe he'll get stuck paying Mancow's bills. Rather than just fuck off, with the money. But see, he can't do that. He can't because he needs, teenage boys to be calling him sir, as we saw in that video. He needs people to be kissing his ass. He needs to be back in that position. He never will be, and indeed, where he could have fucked off with, set for life money, he may indeed end up destroying himself trying to undo the basically slap on the wrist he got. Wrist, not wrist. I can't talk. And similarly with Spoonie. If Spoonie were to just fucking wash his hair and stop being a cunt and get on stream and try and entertain his fans, he still has enough people that would throw him money. Now, he doesn't deserve that. And you're a fool if you do. Everyone that still defends him is a fool. But that's the reality of the situation. People are so desperate for him to go back to the way he was, or the way he at least seemed to be, I would argue, that they would forgive him instantly if he would just knock it off and come back. But because he's such a reprehensible shithead, he can't even do that. Even this stream, It's probably too little, too late. Even if he starts streaming every damn day, and you see in the clip we're gonna play here, and maybe we'll play more of it. I don't know, but you see he doesn't handle shit well. So let's go ahead and play.
Oh, I could probably pay my bills with regular videos. Well, Harizo, if your mom would get back to whoring down by the pier, you could probably make rent. But I'm not putting any pressure on her either.
What a cunt! First of all, that wasn't funny. Second of all, what a cunt! And then look at how his fans have to kiss his ass. John Spiegel here sent him $10. Shame on you, by the way, for sending this man $10 for casting your pearls before this swine. But hey, Spoonie, I can't stay long. I wanted to mention I sent you a message on Patreon a few weeks ago. Not a complaint or anything. I just wanted to make sure you saw. Thanks for streaming. Look at how they have to treat him with kid gloves. Real quick, we got a super chat. Senegan Chief says, Deathpool, Spoonie, Matt Jarbo, Onision, or a Mumkey. I don't really... What's going on with Mumkey? I know he got, like, his channel banned or something, but I used to enjoy his content. I don't know... I don't know the details of him. Onision, I don't know a great deal about, but he does seem like the most narcissistic shithead in the planet. I would say if any of those men kill themselves, again, taking Mumkey out of the equation, because I'm not sure what's going on there, it would probably be Matt Jarbo. I think Spoonie really, really wants to die. I don't think Spoonie has the balls. I don't know a better way to put it. He doesn't have the balls to do it. He really doesn't. He's choosing this slow suicide route, where he's just given up and he's going to curl into a ball and die. But he's not going to actually kill himself. He doesn't have the balls. He's too much of a coward. By the way, I love this down here. I'm going through the worst time in my life at the moment, so I doubt I'll be very chatty. I apologize for the state I'm in, but I have to do something for the sake of my own sanity. Oh, buddy, that ship has sailed. So let's go back. Let's hear the introduction. Look at him down there. Look at him down there. Look at this. He looks like the guy that was whispering in the One King's ear in Lord of the Rings. What was the guy? I'm sorry, I'm not a big Tolkien fucking nerd. But what was the guy that, like, you know, he was putting the spell on the king and draining his life force out of him? He looks like that motherfucker. I thought it was paused for a second, but no, he's just... Oh, God, dude, you are... Like, look, I know I'm fat too, but, like, Spoonie was skinny as a rail for a long time. Look at that, he won't even say anything. He's just sitting there. Here's the thing, Spoonie hates himself, and he also hates his fans. And he hates his fans, I would say, probably because he hates himself. Because I think on some level, Spoonie knows that his fans are fucking retards. Like, if you're still supporting this guy at the moment, that's retarded of you. Okay? And I think he has a contempt for his pay pickies. Like a Findom would. Where it's like, if you're still giving to this man, that's so sad. That's so pathetic. That, like, how can you not find it contemptible? The chat is saying that Mumkey cheated on his girlfriend with one of his fans who's a furry pedo. There's more to it, but that's the short story. Well, damn. That's not something you should be doing. I think we can call the Spoonie experiment at this point a failure. You know, just scientifically. You know, it's He doesn't even say anything.
I can hear myself.
Hear yourself do what? I don't hear you. What do you hear yourself breathe? And what is this game he's playing? This looks boring as fuck. Like, I'm already... The little bit I've seen of this game, I'm already bored. Somebody says Spoonie in the chat, in Spoonie's chat. Spoonie stream, happy holidays, everybody. Careful.
I cannot hear myself.
He'll punch us. He'll punch a fucking Christmas tree. Well, you probably can't hear yourself because you're not talking. That might be why. Real quick, it looks like we got a super chat. Great White Rabbit sends $2 and says Grima Wormtongue was the guy's name. Well, thank you very much. Spoonie is a Grima Wormtongue fucking lookalike. Maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe he's just cosplaying as that guy. He's going to a con. You know, he hasn't put on his fucking medieval gear yet, but he's got the look going. He's been working on it for a while. You know, spend a good 6 weeks not washing your hair. God, he looks like he smells. He looks like he smells bad. The old 4chan bit. Can you imagine the smell? Can you imagine how much it fucking stinks in that room? I guarantee you it's been at least 36 hours since that man has showered. And now he's gone. Now he's gone. We never saw him again. Goodbye, Spoonie. Goodbye. Syndicate Chief in the chat says, videos of Mumkey banging the girl were spread on Kiwi Farms. She also went on Ralph's show and did some tell-alls. Well, that's something. I don't know. I don't dislike Mumkey, so I'm not going to sit here and revel in his dirty laundry getting aired, though. I don't know. Maybe he deserves it. I don't know, but I don't want to. Onision got called for grooming underage fans and got his Patreon canceled. I knew that much. Chris Hansen has been trying to interview him. I knew Onision was a piece of shit. I mean, for numerous... He's like Spoonie. He's just a piece of shit. Is this fucking paused? No. No, this is just... Good God, dude. And look at his fans. Oh, you can't see it. You can't see the chat because I zoomed in. Super Hothead 14 says, take your time, man. Everybody just kissing his ass. Good God, the way you guys fucking ride me for boomer tech issues. And that's fine. You know, I got a job to do if I'm not doing it. But no, everyone's like, it's okay, Spoonie. It's okay. Everybody treats him with such kid gloves because they know he is like... No, actually, let me scratch that for a second. Everybody treats him for such kid gloves because they're like, oh, he's not well. No, part of the reason he's not well is because y'all have fucking babied him. Everybody is sending money to this man's account. Yeah, he doesn't deserve it, but really, you're not doing him any favors if you're donating to his Patreon, if you're super chatting him, unless you're super chatting him to call him a faggot. You're not doing him any favors. Everybody that defended this man for years, you're not doing him any favors. This man has needed called out on his bullshit for a very, very long time.
This
and
is
everybody...
Get for using XSplit.
Everybody...
This feature is not available except in Windows 10.
Okay, that's nice, Spoonie. We'll get back to you here in a minute. Everybody that has been shielding this man, that has been defending this man, Aside from looking like a faggot yourself when you do it, you've not done him any favors. He has needed to be called out for a very long time. And yeah, you're not doing him any favors. Hey, Cynic in Chief. I have OBS doesn't let me copy and paste stuff that well, so I just gave you mod privileges, by the way. Go ahead and throw a link to the Discord in the chat. I don't know why you didn't have mod privileges to begin with. A couple of you people should probably have mod privileges. Dashing Row, you can get mod privileges. Steve's Jerky can get mod privileges. I'm just handing out wrenches like a motherfucker, because that's the kind of guy I am. So I really don't care. I like having more moderators because it means I don't have to fucking babysit the chat. You know. Spinnick Chief says, if Spoonie came to Christ, he might reform himself or at least be able to see his aborted child in heaven. Oh, damn. Damn. See, that's the kind of shit he needs to hear. But again, a large portion of Spoonie's shitty fucking personality is frankly, I don't know if I want to say the direct result of, but let's just say correlates to his fucking fedora-isms. Like, you know, that fedora shit that Spoonie's on about all the time, that stuff is really the God-hating agnostic, God-hating atheist shit. I say God-hating agnostic because that's more where I was. But the God-hating atheist shit. You know, not just I don't believe in God, but I hate God kind of shit. That's fucking cute when you're like 16, 17. Like, I actually feel like you kind of got to go through that a little bit as part of spiritual development. In the same way that, you know, just, you got to go through your fuck you dad stage. Okay? You got to go through that. But through that is the key word. Okay? And, you know, Spoonie is forever 17 is his problem. But, see, the problem is, Spoonie, your body doesn't stay forever 17, as you're seeing here. You know, and the other problem you're facing is you can't hide behind the block button from the bill collectors.
I'll shut it down and start it back up real fast.
You know, the other thing about Spoonie, the reason, now, a lot of his fans are just willing to fucking forgive and forget. But the reason I will never be able to enjoy his content anymore, the reason I can't even go back and really enjoy his old content, like his video on the Pumpkinhead game and like the history of the Pumpkinhead franchise is just, objectively speaking, extremely fucking funny. I think it's his best one. My personal opinion. I can't even go back and enjoy it anymore because a large portion of the appeal of a guy like Spoonie, and of a lot of the guys that were doing this, is this sort of everyman appeal. Hearing Spoonie bitch about video, or movies or video games, what have you, felt like hearing your buddy on the couch bitch about it. But once you see what a reprehensible shithead he is, he's not your buddy anymore. He doesn't feel like that anymore. Okay. I was wondering if I had not unpaused for a second.
That might have done it.
Might have done it. Oh, we got some Davis Arini audio hours on it. And again, Spoonie's a computer guy, so this sort of shit is ridiculous. Like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with this kind of shit, but Spoonie went to fucking school for computer programming. He's supposed to know what he's doing in this regard. By the way, I had a comment that I want to read real quick. Scroll down here. I don't know if y'all can see it. I commented this earlier today. I said, we'll go ahead and get the full thing. Part of me wants to tell you to get a job. Amazingly, he had comments. Oh, but which credit where credit's due. I didn't think he'd do that. Part of me wants to tell you to get a job, Spoonie, but then I think of how you how you try to explain a decade plus gap in work history to some HR cat lady. quote, "Yeah, I was making internet videos. It took off it took off and I was making a lot of money, but it fizzled out and I need to get back into the workforce." Then after the interview, she looks you up and sees a strung out shell of a man yelling at his fans and think, "I can't hire this lunatic. He'll shoot up the office." But hey, I'm sure you can get a job at GameStop. And if you work real hard, in a year or two, you might make assistant manager.
I see my microphone moving at least.
That's fantastic. Real quick, Cynic Chief says, "You have the same friendly aura. I loved your explanation of the Thunderbolts." You know, I might do a couple more of those. I did one on One More Day, and I did one on the history of the Thunderbolts. I might do a few more of those where I go into the history of some comic book thing, because I really love superhero comics. I'm very passionate about it. And it's one of those things where even people that don't give much of a shit about it can really enjoy me explaining that kind of stuff. Spoonie was that same way back in the day. I mean, I don't give a shit about most of the games he goes on about. I don't care about 90s / early 2000s PC games. But yeah, I might do more of this. I'd love to do one on the history of the Blue Beetle franchise. Like not just like one character, but all three characters go through the history, because it's kind of interesting for a number of reasons. I mean, I love Ted Kord Blue Beetle, but the history of the franchise is one of those interesting little histories of comics. Somebody says, "Silly Bechtloff, GameStop won't be around in 2 years." I don't know, man. GameStop's one of those things that just won't fucking die.
No camera. I won't have
I mean, GameStop should have died 5 years ago. Let's be real. This game looks just riveting, doesn't it? God.
I solved the game. Here, this is one of the most insidious puzzles in the entire game. I remember this. I've only played some of it, but I remember
Opening
this.
a door?
That can kiss my ass.
Oh, okay. I see what he was doing. Whatever. This game looks
I never
so...
got very far with this.
This game looks so boring so far. I'm already bored. We're like 2 seconds into this. God, the art design looks like fucking Fortnite or some shit. I don't know anything about this game too, so I fully expect someone to chat real. "No, Bechtloff, this is actually a classic." It's lovely. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you, Changer of Ways.
So apparently this is Drawing Lines, the game.
For what purpose were these puzzles made?
This is Drawing Lines, the game. There's not even a time limit or something. There's not even like enemies coming for him. Okay, this I guess is the beginning of the game, so maybe this is Drawing Lines, the game. You got to draw a line from the big circle to the little nub. Wow. This is a man, by the way, who thinks Smash Brothers is a shit series. But you know, it just can't compete
lost
with
my focus here.
With Drawing Lines.
I remember there being one here. This strangely phallic pillar. This is when you know the game just hates you.
Everyone hates you, Spoonie. You could have just
Wow. I got lucky there.
you could have just drawn a straight line though, couldn't you have? Does it have to be a certain length? I don't understand this game. Somebody says the aesthetics like Fortnite means Minecraft. That's a good.
How do I get up there?
I said GameStop should have died 5 years ago. Somebody said Spoonie should have died 5 years ago. I don't understand how his Patreon's not at zero.
I just remember. I remember those two in particular because they were so just radical. I know there's a lot of puzzles like that.
This is just riveting.
This one has 2 exits.
That's what she said.
That is actually very weird.
I'm waiting for this lunatic to lose his shit. Because Lord knows his game footage is boring me to tears.
Ah.
Wow. PC mustard race, huh?
Okay, only one at a time. Tigor, now is not the time to be asking me for videos. I don't know when it is the time, but it's not now.
Somebody in the chat, I guess, was asking him.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm trying to look in the chat. Let's see who's Tigor. Who the fuck's Tigor? I'm not even seeing it. Maybe he like blocked him after a while, and it's not on there now. Now is not the time to be asking me for videos. Well, you know what? Maybe if you're about to lose your house, Spoonie, now is the time to make fucking videos. Does that maybe occur to you?
Oh. Could start at either one of those.
Never cross the streams. That's right, chat. Somebody says this is a PlayStation game.
Okay, well that opens.
I mean, I've never heard of this, so I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but at the same time, this really smacks of this smacks of late 90s, early 2000s PC game.
I see. I think I know.
I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know anything about this game. Maybe it's fucking recent or
Thank
something.
you, Big Steve.
But I'm looking at it and I would guess like this is a PC game from 2000.
This is the guy with the Vectrix. How should I contact me? How should I contact me? I don't know, man. I'm not going to ignore you. I don't know.
Give him an email.
I probably want to get rid of it.
Somebody's gonna give you a Vectrex and you'll go, don't know how to contact. Dude, I'd love to get a Vectrex. That's cool as shit. Those things are pricey right now too. Just give him an email address, you idiot.
Okay, I'll tell you. One possible answer is I will get back to you because I'm going to be moving. In the
yeah, I bet you are.
Future. I guess that'd be either a time to send it or pick it up.
Or is he selling a Vectrex? I don't know.
But yeah, just I say the word hassle me later, and then we'll deal with it. You don't hassle me, really.
No, Spoonie, you hassle you. Yeah, you're gonna be moving later, though, aren't you?
Where am I moving? out.
Yeah, where are you moving to? I don't think you've figured that part out yet, have you? Toad used to stink since 1499. Thank you very much. Who are you? I'm Ray. Ray who? Raid Shadow Legends is one of the most ambitious RPG projects of 2019. Just look at the level of detail of these characters. If you use the code in the description, it cuts off. Every fucking YouTuber on with the Raid Shadow Legends. Oh, man. I'm going to be moving. You'll be moving to the gutter. Oh, boy. Oh, man. Sorry, folks. I had a text message here I was looking at. I'll respond to it later. I don't really have time right now. But... I will say, though, I'm not going to complain about the additional 11 cents, though. I'm just surprised you'd go with $14.99 and not the more humorous $14.88. But I'm not going to complain that you sent an additional 11 cents. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if everybody threw an additional 11 cents on top of their on their regular chats there, that would add up.
I've been really wanting to try the Vectrex, and I've never even seen one.
So somebody, okay, so that's what it is. Somebody's just going to give you a Vectrex, probably. I doubt they're even selling it to you, because your fans want to suck your dick so hard, still to this day. Somebody's just giving you a Vectrex. Vectrex, by the way, it's this cool little system. It didn't last very long, but it was in the early 80s, the glut of all kinds of systems. And it uses vector line graphics, which was insanely crisp and clean for the time. And it's got like a built-in screen and it's cartridge game based. But they're cool as shit. Like, they're awesome little things. I'd love to get one. But they go for like $300. So, I mean, easily like $300. So somebody's going to just give Spoonie this. Probably give. Maybe they're planning on selling it to him, but probably just give him this $300 piece of gaming history. Like, stop being nice to this man. You're not doing him any favors. You understand that? You might as well throw that Vectrex in the fucking dumpster.
I am standing on the threshold about to enter a room. It is a complicated business. In the first place, I must shove against an atmosphere pressing with a force of 14 pounds on every square inch of my body. I must make sure of landing on a plank, traveling at 20 miles a second around the sun. A fraction of a second too early or too late, the plank would be miles away.
The dialogue in this game is pretentious as fuck.
I must do this whilst hanging from a round planet head outward into space and with a wind of ether blowing at no one knows how many miles a second through every interstice of my body. The plank has no solidity of substance. To step on it is like stepping on a swarm of flies. Shall I not slip through? No. If I make the venture, one of the flies hits me and gives me a boost up again.
What are you talking about?
And am knocked upwards by another fly, and so on. I may hope that the net result will be that I remain about steady, but if, unfortunately, I should slip through the floor or be boosted too violently up to the ceiling, the occurrence would be not a violation of the laws of nature, but a rare coincidence. These are some of the minor difficulties. I ought really to look at the problem four-dimensionally as concerning the intersection of my world line with that of the
I hate this game.
Then again, it is necessary to
I realize that Spoonie's playing it, so that sours me on it immediately.
To make sure that my passage of the
But it's drawing lines of the
Not in
game.
the mood for this shit.
Which I'm agreeing with you for once here, Spoonster. Some of the most pretentious gay fucking dialogue I've ever heard.
than for a scientific man to pass through a door.
This is like Neil deGrasse Tyson kind of shit.
it might be wiser that he should consent to be an ordinary man and walk in, rather than wait till all the difficulties involved in a really scientific ingress are resolved. Arthur Eddington, 1927.
Somebody
I
says
don't think
about
Arthur
the...
Eddington had many friends.
Yeah, I don't think you do either, in all fairness, Spoonie. You're not one to throw stones in that regard. Somebody says there are games still being developed for the Vectrex. That is true. It's got a tremendous mod community to it.
I think I just signaled the mothership.
Does Spoonie not like this game? Why? Oh no, I forgot. Spoonie is a
Through many births,
bitter little cunt.
I have wandered on and on, searching for, but never finding, the builder of this house.
I really hate the pretentious bullshit of this game. What are you doing? You're just going around in circles. The fuck are you doing? See, Spoonie, you have to, like, talk to the people. Especially when you kind of suck
Am I
at
gonna
video.
starve to death?
No, you're in no danger of that, Spoonie. I don't know. Maybe your character will. I don't know. But I don't... You seem to have the opposite problem. I want to throw stones, though. I'm in the same
Hey,
boat as you.
Raziel, if you don't like me, you can kiss my ass and fuck off.
I think the chat is frozen. Give me a second here, folks.
No
Let me-
one's making you sit here.
Let me skip ahead a little bit. See if I can unstick the chat. Because I'm looking at the chat in the side there, and then... Okay. Because he's responding to people, and, like, I wasn't seeing the chat move any on the side there. Oh, his mods are banning people or telling him he's a fag.
You're going to break into the fortress I just broke out of. It's like Pac-Man.
Okay, so all Raz said, by the way, is this is so boring. TF, dude. Like, it's probably even somebody that likes Spoonie. He's just like, dude, this is fucking... What are you doing? Like, yeah, heaven forbid your fans be allowed to fucking critique you, dude.
Goodbye.
God, this game is fucking boring. Here's the thing. Like, there might be something to this if, like, okay, this is obviously a game Spoonie's familiar with and he's played. Thank you very much for the super chat. I'll get to it in a minute. So, like, why isn't he saying anything? You know what I mean? He could be telling us memories of when he first played this game, or telling us about why he loves this game, or why he doesn't like this game, or something like that. Instead, I'm just left with watching an unseen protagonist draw lines with some pretentious bullshit occasionally said, while I hear a man who hates himself and the world around him occasionally yell at his chat. That is this stream. Singing Chief says, I'd love to see you live stream playing Antichamber. I'm not familiar with that game. Unfortunately, I have to play fucking Hot Dish 2 here soon. Or, I'm sorry, Hot Dish 2. Hot Dish soon. I'm not looking forward to that. I really should have done that tonight. I get to it. I get to it very soon, folks. I don't know. I was going to hang out with a buddy tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure that those plans are going to come to fruition. They might not be available. They might actually be stuck working, of all things. So maybe I'll do some throwaway stream. Maybe I'll do a stream of it tomorrow night. I'm not planning on any kind of New Year's Eve countdown shit, but I might do that. I wasn't planning on streaming tomorrow, both because I have plans, and also everybody's going to be streaming tomorrow. Everybody's going to... I really imagine there's going to be just a ton of shit. Somebody says, has Juan been at last forgotten? No, Juan is not forgotten. Juan, but not forgotten.
Why are you leaving this shit everywhere?
Of all the communities available to us, there's not one I would want to devote myself to, except for the Society of True Searchers, which has very few living members at any time. Albert Einstein, 1924.
God, this is so pretentious. Is there like a certain length the wires have to go? Because the way out's right fucking there. What are you doing?
If Slender Man appears, I fucking quit.
Very topical. God, this game sucks.
Oh, God. Oof.
Drawing lines, the game.
Okay.
Somebody in the chat, in Spoonie's chat, will 2020 be the years? 2020 be the year of Spoonie? One minute, somebody in the chat. Every game is a horror game when you're living the nightmare life that Spoonie is. Oh, God, I gotta, hang on a second, folks. I gotta zoom out a bit. You should see this fucking chat that Spoonie's dealing with here. Not sure how much of it you can read, but you should check out his chat. You can see right here. Every game is a horror game when you're living the nightmare life Spoonie is. Harsh, but fair. And why did you turn off your camera, Spoonie? Like, if you didn't want to appear on camera, why did you appear on camera earlier? I mean, everybody ran with that picture of how disgusting you look now. But what are you even doing? I freely admit I might not understand how to play this game, but I don't know what the fuck he thinks. Isn't that where you're supposed to go? It's right there. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how to play this game because it looks like shit.
Yeah, jeez.
Somebody in my chat, by the way, real quick, says, I'd say some folks were hopeful that April, purple hair being out of his Spoonie's life, he'd clean up a bit. Dude, you gotta understand, that was the only thing in his life, like, that he actually had to live for, was that woman. I mean, say what you will about her. I'm sure she's a piece of shit. You know, she seems to be by all accounts. But, like, I mean, for one thing, who the fuck do you think was paying the bills? Do you think you can live on $300 a month? You know, I mean, let's say really liberal estimate. You know, he's getting a little bit extra money. It's $400 a month. You think you live on $400 a month? So he says he needs to hit rock bottom before he starts improving. Yes, the only chance this man has is hitting rock bottom. All right. And that's why I said, and I stand by it, everyone who was making excuses for him, everyone who was defending him, everyone who especially was giving him money, shame on you. Because, I mean, first of all, like, have you no self-respect? But second of all, I mean, you're not doing him any favors. Somebody says, I did in a trailer that leaked with no power or water. I mean, I guess you can, I mean, yeah, you could probably technically survive. I mean, if you're fucking homeless, I guess you could survive on fucking pocket change that's handed out to you. I mean, but, like, you're not going to have a house. You're not going to even have any kind of decent place you're renting on $300 a month. Like, you're just not. So, yeah, I mean, hoping that April leaving him was going to fix him. I mean, he's being foreclosed on probably really soon. And foreclosure, especially if you're a piece of shit like Spoonie who has no shame and you just fucking, you have to be dragged out of the place by the police. Like, foreclosure takes a while. Like, 90 days at least.
What?
This is an absolutely riveting game. I just, the lore is so enchanting, and God, fucking PC mustard race people. This came out in 2000, I bet. I don't know. I'm guessing, but while the console peasants were playing Majora's Mask,
No.
this man was playing Draw Lines, the game. When did this come out? What the fuck game is this? Let me look real quick. Because I want to actually get it right.
Get all the Pac-Man giblets.
Let me actually get it right. The game is called Livewire The Witness. So let's look up Livewire The Witness, shall we? Somebody says van life and get 2 million subscribers. Well, yeah, if YouTube just gives them to you.
And nothing.
It's like a metaphor for your life, Spoonie.
Okay. I'm rich.
When did it come out, though? I'm trying to find when it came out.
I'm not supposed to solve the puzzle. It's there. It's. Oh God.
Sorry,
I knew that was one of them.
Oh, apparently this is a new fucking game. I'll be damned. This is 2016. This came out.
That one I was not supposed to solve.
I will be damned. I really would have guessed this would have been like early 2000s PC. But it does sort of have that Fortnite aesthetic.
Thank you, Steve.
In the art direction. Somebody described it as almost Fortnite meets Minecraft in its art direction. So I guess I can kind of see that now. I really would have... It does sort of harken back to like 90s, early 2000s PC games, though.
If you're here for me, then you're gonna be disappointed because I'm not me right now.
Spoonie, you haven't been you for a very long time. Once again, his chat froze up on me. Let me get it to go back. Come on. Here we go. Where were we? I don't remember where we were.
I knew that was one of them. That one I was not supposed to solve. Thank you, Steve.
Somebody says I watch for Spoonie, not for the game. Why?
If you're here for me, then you're gonna be disappointed because I'm not me right now.
Somebody says he's prepping for his new hobby of Connect the Dots books where he lives in a van. Gonna live stream it off his phone. Cynic and Chief says, I got it. I think the game is fantastic, but I love puzzle games. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
A large portion of why I'm thinking this game looks like shit right now is because I'm watching a shithead play it. Like, it's not really that appealing to me just at a glance. But if there was somebody that actually had a little bit of fucking charisma or likability, they could probably get me a little bit into it watching them play it. Somebody says the frame rate is too good to be early 90s or 2000. Yeah, I could see that, but a lot of these games get kind of patches when they go on Steam and shit like that. They get the frame rate improved a bit and shit like that. They get cleaned up a bit when they get on Steam. Somebody says, aren't we watching for Spoonie and not the game? Well, fair point. Fair point.
I like old TV. Without the chat room in the stream, it just sounds like I'm saying random things for no reason.
Well, then read the thing in the chat, you moron. Just say, oh, somebody in the chat says, I mean, this is better than old TV. I like old TV. See how easy that is? Somebody sends him 2 British pounds and says, thank you for giving it a try, Noah. Glad to see you online. Look at how these people coddle him. Oh, thank you. It's so glad that you wiped your ass today, Spoonie. I'm so glad to see you did that. Stop it. You are making him worse. You understand that? You're a big reason he's like this now. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to take personal responsibility away from him. Okay? But the entire time he descended into this state, hordes of his fucking fans were sucking his asshole the whole fucking time. You do him no favors this way. His behavior these last few years has been beyond inexcusable. And you just, all of you just keep sucking his dick. I'm so glad you're trying, Spoonie. He's not. He's not trying.
Nothing! Not even like a little victory dance? Or like...
Maybe something activated somewhere else, Spoonie. Didn't you ever play Doom? Sometimes you flip a key card and there's a door opening on the other side of the map.
Ding. Well, these are head scratchers. He said, daring the game to get harder. No.
No retard. Yeah, there you go. No, you're not supposed to go around the black ones, are you? I don't think so. Yeah, no shit. How did I catch on to that already? Oh, God. I don't even... I'm barely paying attention to this game. How did I catch on to that before you, retard?
Nothing! Oh my god.
The physicist Wolfgang Pauli once spoke of two limiting conceptions, both of which have been extraordinarily fruitful in the history of human thought. Although no
Somebody in the
particular
chat, real
reality
quick.
corresponds
I'm
to
sorry, I gotta mute the pretentious bullshit of this game. Somebody in the chat says it is kind of true that sometimes the nicest thing you can do to people is be the rude awakening they need in life. Yeah, no shit. There's a phrase called tough love for a reason. All right. Now, a lot of people were really hard on Spoonie, but there were always a whole bunch of assholes defended him, sending him money. Now, I don't mean to absolve Spoonie of responsibility. You know, the big thing that really broke him was when he reached the point where he was supposed to, you know, do the Spoonie movie. He reached 5,000 a month, which he thought he never would make, you know, and he obviously had no fucking idea how to do that. He didn't know how to make a movie. He had no plan for a movie. He didn't think he'd make that. Fine. You know what? Maybe you just come clean. And maybe you say, guys, look, I can't do this. I mean, I could fart out something that'll be stupid and embarrassing, but that would be dumb. So, I'm sorry, guys. I can't keep this promise. Like, just own up to it. I'm sorry, guys. I can't keep this promise. I understand, you know, if you don't want to donate anymore. I understand that. You know, maybe the first month you refund that 5,000 or something. I don't know. But you just own up to it. Because that's what broke him. I mean, he was going downhill for a while. But when he reached the point where he was supposed to make that stupid fucking movie, and he had no idea what to do, he just made a bunch of lies and a bunch of excuses like, oh, yeah, it's coming, with, you know, nothing. And he could have just been a man and said, look, guys, I'm sorry. I wrote a check I can't cash here. It's embarrassing. I apologize, but I got to own up to it. But, you know, that would have required being an honorable fucking person.
Ooh, 2 fingers. Ah, the random dumbbell and vase factory. Okay. I made it here last time, about as far as I got. What is the purpose of this place.
I think we're almost to the point where he freaks out on that guy again. Like we watched at the beginning.
Thank you, Jace. I have not seen Star Wars. The new one, anyway.
Why would you?
Jackson, don't shine it on too much. Being here is not a gift. It's me trying to distract my brain. Not doing a very good job.
I'm sorry. The chat froze again. 3712. Let me skip ahead a little bit and then go back so I can unstick the chat. Because I got to see what Jackson said there, kissing his ass. Okay. I think he's responding to somebody. But he says, fruit spread, trust me, it is appreciated. But being here is a gift as it is. I don't know who he's responding to in the chat here. Somebody called fruit spread, I guess. Look at this. 20, what is it? I don't know. Some foreign fucking, thank you for being you. Look at how these people coddle this asshole. They throw him so much fucking money as he spits in their face. K-Spoons, how much money to light up your life? These people are so desperate to cheer up their fucking findom over here.
Not doing a very good job. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, I get it. I feel like I'm making pagan drawings.
So he says, fine, fine, you're still doing what you can.
Hey, there's things in the way.
No, he's not.
The fuck is this? Get this fucking thing out of my way.
It's not blocking you that much, you idiot. Don't.
Ah! Oh. Nothing! Could be a new car.
Why, so you can live in it? Somebody said, Azalea Rosa in the chat says, imagine if Jim had this kind of fan base. See, he wouldn't. Because Jim would call you a faggot if you were treating him that way. Like, Jim does not like when you kiss his ass. I don't know if you ever noticed. I remember I had him on here once. It was great to have him on. But at one point, I'm like, I kind of said to him that, because especially at the time he was covering the Channel Awesome thing. I said, what you do is, whether you want to admit it or not, journalism. And, he's like, oh, no. Like, he does it. He's like uncomfortable. He's like, no. Like, he doesn't want you sucking his dick. All right. I remember when he was like sick for a few weeks and he kind of like disappeared, went dark. He shows up on the Ralph retort, and Ralph's like, "Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. You know, some of us were worried." And he's like, "Stop sucking my dick, Ralph." Like, yeah, Jim wouldn't tolerate a fan base like this for very long. Because Jim is something Spoonie's not, a man.
Oh, I could probably pay my bills with regular videos. Well, Harizo, if your mom would get back to whoring down by the pier, you could probably make rent, but I'm not putting any pressure on her either.
There, we're back again. Back to the cuntiness towards his fans. You could probably pay your bills with regular videos right there. And then again, we read this earlier. Like, just everybody coddling his ass. And you know what? He probably could pay his fucking bills with regular streams. Look at the money these fucking pay pigs are chucking at him. Now, granted, that's because they haven't seen him in a while, so you know they've saved up their wad for a bit. But make no mistake, this man, and if he actually pulled his head out of his ass and even pretended to be a likable guy again, he would be making Medicare levels of money. But he can't do it. He can't do it.
It's all melty now.
Okay, I'm gonna give the game credit. The one all melt it and distort it, and it's hard to look at. That's actually a pretty cool game mechanic there.
Nothing. To think I used to admire you, man. I know, right?
Oh, that hurt. That hurt him. Oh, somebody in the chat. And to think I used to admire you. Somebody says he accidentally typed thing instead of think, which is one of the easiest typos to make. And somebody then defended him. To thing? And then the moderator, just chill, all right? Spoonie's not... You leave Spoonie alone! Leave Spoonie alone! To think I used to admire you. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it, Spoonie? Good. Good, man. That's what the whole...
To think you still have such high aspirations for yourself that you're still here watching this loser.
Yes, but you got him. You got him back there, Spoonie.
Hi, Top Gun.
You got him back, Spoonie. There you go. You got him. Somebody in the chat says Medicare killed 1 billion channels before he moved on to took Medicare.
Yeah, it's this type of stream. So if you don't like it, kindly wear a helmet and fuck her off.
Yeah, that did make sense, Spoonie. You're not funny anymore. You're not funny anymore, just so we're clear. And it looks like the chat on the side froze, so I don't know what he's responding to. I'll unstick it again. But yeah, I don't think Medicare is going to get rid of the Medicare thing. I think he's actually... I think he's used to the money at this point. So I don't think he's nuking it this time. 42:27. Let's skip ahead and go back to it so I can unstick the chat. Okay, so what were people saying in the chat? Who's more foolish? Yes, of course. Oh wow, is it this type of stream? Yep. So he says a couple of genuinely sad sops in the chat today. No, every one of you that's giving him money to this sad sop is the saddest of sop. Imagine defending this guy at this point.
Yeah, I am gonna mute my microphone. I'm getting irritated.
Good. You know, I'm glad because definitely there was too much commentary, huh? Oh, well, then we're not going to listen to any more of this. I went ahead and gave him a dislike. Yeah, give him some feedback. Oh, it could have just looked it up right there. The Witness 2016. I am retarded. Worm Tongue streams now. I thought he died. Somebody had the salt link, yeah. Be good to your fans and they will be good to you. BoJack Horseman. Well, apparently Spoonie's proof that treat your fans like shit and they'll be good little pay piggies. Don't tell me how to play. Don't tell me how to play. Yes, exactly. The Portrait of a Broken Man. Oy vey, not so chosen after all. I didn't know Spoonie was Jewish. Comments on Spoonie's video. That's a new one. Here's an interesting comment. It's possible nothing will help this guy at this point. This is probably going to be about time like any other breakup. Spoonie is an intelligent person. He's not ignorant enough to rely on subjective cliche given from anyone to comfort him. Knowing his content, notice I say content, not him, I can speculate that he has the ability to overcome things and build a new life eventually. No. I think no. Have fun blowing people on the money for streets on the streets, spoons. 2019 Spoonie has all the energy of 2019 Jew Wario. Oh, these comments are great. Why did Spoonie play this? He played this game at least twice, and every time it goes the same way. Get to where the puzzles start to get tricky. Chat tries to help him. He goes, "Don't tell me how to play," and the stream is derailed. So why? Because Spoonie's an asshole. Let's see. Spoonie, you're not 16 anymore. Go see a Barbara. April lied to you when she said it looked good. Stop. Like this comment so Donald Trump sees it and tweets it at Spoonie. Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you the diet of Night Train and Hot Pockets. 2020, the year of Spoonie. I don't think so. I was a big fan for a long time. Sad to see what happened to you, dude. I hope you can get back on track. It's never too late. Respect. No, repent is the word you're looking for at the end there. What the fuck? There are comments. I know, right? Aren't you about to lose your house? Shouldn't you do something about that instead of spurging on Twitter so much? I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Noah. I hope the holiday season is a blessing for you. Be well. I'm not sure if that's a fan kissing his ass or somebody trolling him because he knows he hates Christmas. This is just pathetic. Yes, it is. And people still donate to this dude. Who replies to that? Someone gave him $100. Fucking nuts. Maybe they can max out their parents' credit cards and bail Noah's house out. And another gave him $150. That's fucking ridiculous. Honestly, where you all pay piggies with my $100? I actually fucking like you and entertain you. Do I have to start treating you like shit? Is that the key? I have to say, fuck you all in the chat. Just fucking scream at all of you. Is that the way to make the money? Somebody says, I think this guy has finally snuffed out the last few burning embers of hope and goodwill his fans had. He just comes off as petulant now, know-it-all now. I mean, yeah, he does, but you'd be amazed how much his fans want to suck his dick. You the man, Spoonie. I'm rooting for a comeback. That needs a dislike. Jesus Christ, Spoonie looks like trash these days. It's sad to watch at this point. There's an interesting comment. Spoonie needs to exile himself, retool, and burn away all that he is before he can return a new man. Because the problem isn't just financial. It boils down to his personality, temperament, and nihilism as well. But to change yourself and fulfill potential requires putting your ego to rest, killing it. And for Spoonie, that may be too difficult. I and a few others I know are in very similar situations. Noah. Difference is we're doing our damnedest to change our lives and our futures. In the words of Pa Mei, if you want to eat like a dog, you can live and sleep outside. If you want to live and sleep like a human, pick up those sticks. Or in this case, pick yourself up. Well, interesting comment. He's going to be exiled to the streets because he's going to be homeless soon. The hobo character he played is going to be reality. He needs Jesus. We're going to give that a big old thumb up. His brother would give him a room. That's right. He's going to just be crashing at his fucking brother's house. Doesn't his brother have like a fucking family and shit? Can you imagine, like, you're trying to, you're working hard, you're paying your mortgage, you're trying to take care of your wife and kids, and your loser fucking brother, imagine your brother is Spoonie, and he comes in your house, and it's like, okay, Spoonie's the fun uncle, but he used to be, let me put it that way. But now, like, you wouldn't want him around your kids. He's such a toxic piece of shit. I wouldn't want him around a child. Hey, buddy, you can get through this. No, I don't believe he can. I got a super chat. Somebody sends me $2.11. Thank you for the extra 11 cents. I like that. Thank you. That's cool. $2.11 from the cool 2T, and he says yes. I assume that's in response to me being mean. Well, thank you, Pay Piggy. Now oink for me. But yes, thank you very much for the save. And the 11 cents made me say, yeah, everyone put an additional 11 cents on it. That's funny. I say April when the foreclosure goes through, and Spoonie will either be streaming or on the streets of Illinois or Arizona with Miles. Best of luck in 2020. Yeah, I don't think so, buddy. Download this stream since he's going to delete it when he wakes up. Well, that could be like 3 days from now. Who knows? He's the guy that said it. I said in the chat that Noah could pay his bills if he makes videos. That's just a simple statement of fact. If Noah had kept consistent videos since 2015, he would not be in any financial difficulties. Again, it's almost like God's judgment inherent to being such a shithead. You know what I mean? It's the interesting thing. A lot of times, like, shitty people will do something and it'll get away with it, but that very same shittiness will cause them to sabotage it. Like I used the James McDonald example, you know. Spoonie's a great example. Spoonie could be living high off the hog of his stupid fucking fans for decades. Who knows when this train would end? But he's so shitty he can't even do the bare minimum. He's like a chick that's a findom that's too lazy to even go online and say, "Send me your money, cuck." Like, Wish this was the time for self-realization improvement, hence why Noah allows for comments and instead of sheltering themselves for fears, trolls, and banters. But he probably just forgot to turn them off and is the same track. The Spoonie I watched in 2008 is dead, and I don't see it likely this guy will have a return to form or positive evolution. Yeah, I don't know why you left the comments on. You could argue that's actually a positive sign, but it's a small one. To everyone out there, read this. Go ahead. That reads this. Go ahead and enjoy reading each and every one of these comments as much as y'all can, because I know for a fact he's going to disable them again. I would bet. This is some cringe content. Yes, it is. We'll give you a thumbs up there on that one. Happy birthday, Spoonie. Is it his birthday? I don't know. That's some sort of Russian shit. I don't know what's going on with that. Have you tried just getting a part-time job? It's a wonder what a few extra $100 a week for minimal effort will do. I mean, he is already making $300 a month doing nothing. I mean, that's not enough to live. What is he making, by the way? Let me get out of Windows Capture for 1 second. We'll take a look if we can't find him on Patreon. But yeah, what is he making? I mean, like, yeah, it's obviously not enough to live off of, but it's no, Antweiler is creating silly videos. No doubt. No, he is not. He is getting $393 a month from 113 patrons. Yeah. That is not enough to live off of. However, that is pretty good money for nothing. For absolutely fucking nothing. Pretty good fucking money. So, you know, if he actually did go work at the fucking GameStop or some shit, maybe he wouldn't be doing so bad. You know, maybe basic bitch little job plus an additional $400 a month ain't so bad. You know, depending on the living expenses in his area, that sort of thing. You know, it'd be better than just, you know, sitting on ass eating hot pockets till you die. Somebody says, you know that feeling of disappointment you feel when you meet a celebrity or a wrestler at a convention, whom you actually idolized as a kid, but now they're just miserable and drunk and won't even make idle conversation with the few fans that do show an interest, and it's painfully obvious that they're only attending the convention because they need the money and think charging $30 per autograph is going to help them? Yeah, that's what it feels like to watch Spoonie's downward spiral these past few years. Who responds to him? Somebody in the chat kissing his ass says, people have so much resentment towards him, but I don't. People F up. I F up all the time, every single minute, every day. I let people down. I let myself down. I'm a terrible person. I try not to judge. Do people who judge think they are better than him? Don't judge faggotry. Spoonie's behavior is unacceptable. Okay? It is behavior that should be called out. Am I a shithead? Do I do shithead things? Abso-fucking-lutely. Alright? And feel free to call me out on that. But just don't judge. It's fine. It's fine. No, it's not fine. Dear Spoonie, if you want to dunk on Tolkien, maybe get your act together first. At least the man completed his famed work, and while you still have a pile of promised Patreon content to finish, signed, get a haircut. No, if you make content again, if you make content again, it's going to help with your depression. I'll be able to forgive you for the lack of content over the last 5 years. Well, you're a fool. You're a fool if you go back to watching this man's content. Comments on a Spoonie video. What is this, 2013? Spoonie cried himself to sleep and forgot to disable comments. Will the Spoonie the movie be about your existential crisis as a hobo? By the way, have you eaten Oreo yet? Oh, that's terrible. I forgot he has a dog. Oh, I hope April took the dog. I hope the dog's okay. Unlike Spoonie, the dog's going to go to heaven. So I hope the dog's okay. You left so many hostile comment and vulgar comments on this video. Vulgar. Imagine claiming to be offended by something that's vulgar and you're a fan of Spoonie. You are a sadder state than Spoonie. You can do what Spoonie does to all its fans and ignore me. By the way, have you eaten Oreo yet? Oh, dude. I bet April took the dog. I hope April took the dog. For the dog's sake. This is next level pathetic. Yes, it is. Getting booed at McDonald's. Yeah, apparently he was on Twitter. He said he got booed at McDonald's. We might check out his Twitter here in a minute. People are actually giving Spoonie money. Absolutely wild. Can't believe how far one can coast on videos made 10 years ago. Good for him. Hope it helps. Ant Wilder 2020, the only man who can beat Trump. Oh, oh no, that's a thumbs up. I'm sorry. That's funny. Don't tell me how to run for president. Oh, that he probably would have a better shot than any of the other candidates, except Tulsi. Man, here's hoping the experiment will return one day. The experiment has been a failure. It's fucking dead and gone. Game over, man. Hey, Spoonie, how's that movie going? Probably making a lot of progress. The budget is not going to be a problem with all the money you received at Patreon, is it? Oh, this is priceless. That movie is 10 years in the making. I can't wait longer. He probably just needs more Patreon money. Only 5 more years of Trump, Spoonie. Oh, this is priceless. Oh. This Spoonie want to win probably Yang for that sweet 1,000 a month. Oh. If Tulsi doesn't win, Spoonie will be happy to chain her up in his basement and love her his way. Oh. Oh, man. Oh, listen to this faggot. No wonder he disables comments. There's a shitload of toxicity here. Yeah, because there's no toxicity coming from Spoonie, you fag. Ah. Oh, that was nice. That was nice. Oh. Somebody says he's right about the depression somewhat. It feels good to build a couple of models recently. The problem is building the motivation to actually do the thing, even above being able to afford it. Look, I get it. I get depression can get you in a spiral and stuff like that. Look, there's been times I've dealt with it myself. You know, I went through last fall, not 2020, not 2019 fall, 2018 fall. I went through something really rough, and I was in a depression for a while. I had the energy to do my day job and to do this, and that was about it. But you'll notice that, I mean, I still fucking scraped together that energy to do my fucking responsibilities. I went to my day job. You know, I got in front of this mic on a regular basis and you know, danced like a monkey to get some shekels. You know, I did the two things that bring me money to, you know, now that was often all I fucking had in me. But I mean, at a certain point, I know it's hard. I know it's hard, and I know it sucks. But at a certain point, you gotta fucking man up. You know, and you gotta have people around you that push you, and you gotta not push away those people that actually push you. Well, we've gone on for over 2.5 hours tonight. I hope you all enjoyed this content, but I think we're gonna wrap this up for the night. Maybe we'll do something tomorrow night. If we do, I'll probably try and play Hot Dish. Oh, I got to, unfortunately. What was I saying? Oh, if you enjoy the content I put out, do consider supporting the show. We got the PayPal, Patreon, and Amazon wish list are all ways you can do just that. And I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, we look, we had a good laugh at him because he is a shithead. Okay. But I'm going to say this right now. You know, most of my fans, y'all are men of God. You know, women of God, even a couple of you. And do give the man some prayer. Like, look, he deserves to be shit on. And in all fairness, being shit on is it's better for him than the people kissing his ass. He needs to hear a lot more "stop being a faggot" than all the "it's okay." It's not okay, Spoonie. It's a long fucking way from okay. But pray for him, you know, because if he needs to get over his fucking gay ass 17-year-old mentality of I'm too fucking fedora tipping. I'm too smart for the sky daddy. Well, no, you're not. So yeah, I'm not kidding. Give the man some prayer. Don't give him any money.